Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm a Boeing 737 pilot, and in this video I'm going to show you how to do a quick turnaround. Now, you may be wondering, I'm talking about quick turnarounds, but nonetheless we are just still in the air at almost 30,000 feet. And that is actually correct, because doing a quick turnaround starts long before actually doing the turnaround itself, and it starts with a landing preparation. So we're currently flying a heavy holiday bomber of a Boeing 737 here with 184 holiday makers and lots of luggage on board. So naturally we will have quite a high landing weight, and what we do need to worry about here is our brake cooling time. So let's start by having a look into the landing performance calculator, which should always be your first step to doing a quick turnaround. And if we look into the virtual performance tool over here, I've entered all the landing data for our destination airport, Gran Canaria, and as you can see we are calculated with a pretty high landing weight of almost 65 tons, which is almost maximum landing weight for this aircraft. And if I do the standard flap 30 and idle reverse calculation, we can see that we actually need to cool our brakes for 55 minutes on the ground. Now, we aim for a turnaround time of 25 minutes, therefore we'll have to do something about it. The first thing, of course, is to use second detent reverse rather than idle. And if we use second detent, we can see we end up at 22 minutes. Now, keep in mind that the time to cool the brakes is calculated as time on the stand with the park and brake off, and then we might probably still want to shorten our brake cooling time a little bit more. Something like 15 minutes usually is the optimal case. So, in that case, let's go flaps 40. And now we can see flap 40 reverse all operational, we get a 15-minute brake cooling schedule, which is just perfect for us. So, entering our aircraft, we make sure that we have actually selected flaps 40, and auto brakes 3 is something that we are still going to need to vacate the runway early enough, since we always have to keep in mind the current flight of course takes precedence over the next flight, so we still need to vacate the runway quickly, since Gran Canaria is quite a busy place where the next aircraft is probably going to come in right behind us. The other thing that we can already do is to have a look into our flight plan for the return flight and make a preliminary fuel decision. So I have already calculated our way back from Gran Canaria to Düsseldorf, and this is our flight's data. Now, the important thing for us that we need to check on here in the flight plan, of course we can already do all the standard checks, like we have the correct registration on here and so on. But the really important stuff is down here. We can already use the time in the descent to quickly review the NOTAMs for our next sector, and then we can have a look into the weather as well. And we'll see the weather is forecast quite good. Over the course of the night there will be some light snow in this case, but that will not affect us. So our preliminary fuel decision can already be made based on this. And based on this I would take 15.9 tons of fuel. That should be sufficient for the flight. Now that is all the preparation that we can do for the next sector well in advance. So let's forward now to actually arriving on stand and discuss the procedures that we're going to follow on stand. Welcome to Gran Canaria Airport. Now, the next choice we need to make is, are we going to park at the terminal position using an air bridge, or are we going to park at an outside position using stairs and buses? Now, we are going to park at an outside position because it means that we can use both doors, the front and the back door, to board and deboard the airplane, thereby expediting the turnaround process. Note that this is modeled if you're using the PMDG turnaround feature, and you are going to see the speeds adjusted accordingly. So we want to make the turnaround as quickly as possible today, so we are going to take an outside position. And this, by the way, is particularly the reason why carriers like EasyJet or Ryanair, who aim for very short turnaround procedures, typically use outside parking positions rather than terminal positions. In the example of Ryanair, the famous 25-minute turnaround that we are going to try today is only applicable at those positions where you are parking outside, so where both doors can be used. If a jetway has to be used, Ryanair allocates a 35-minute turnaround, attributing to the longer time it takes for passengers to embark and disembark. So we're parked on stand, park and brake is set, and APU is online, 2 blue, 1 red, engine's dead, and this is where the 25-minute turnaround process is going to start. Okay, engine 1 and 2 below 20%. Right now. Anti-collision light off. We start the timer for 25 minutes. Transit shutdown checklist. Electrical on APU, fast modes off, probe beat auto, NDI is off, voice recorder on, air current packs auto, engine bleeds on, APU bleed off, exterior lights set, start switch is off, auto brake off, speed brake down to 10, flaps up no light, park and brake set, start levers cut off, weather radar off, transponder 2000 standby, CVR circuit breaker in, and cockpit door unlocked. And that is the first 30 seconds of our turnaround gone already. So, as we arrive on block and the anti-collision light is turned off, the ground crew is going to connect the ground equipment, and this is where things start to get interesting. So straight away we are going to request all the services and vehicles that we are going to need. So, remember that we had a look into the latest weather already in flight? Well, we've made our preliminary fuel decision, but we still need to decide on the final amount of fuel that we are going to take. So let's have a quick look into the latest weather, and then we are going to decide how much fuel we will actually be taking. Alright, let's use SimToolkit Pro. And let's have a latest weather update. So, Düsseldorf, current weather is looking good. The TAF is looking good as well. So we can take the previous fuel decision of 15.9 tons. Alright, so they can start deboarding up here. And for the fuel we take 15,900. They can start loading the fuel straight away as well. This is quite an uplift that we have to do, 12 tons, so this is going to take a while. Probably for the most part of our turnaround, actually. They started deboarding the passengers, we wait for the baggage handling to arrive, and off we go. Now, the important point here at the beginning is to get all the services running so that things start happening. Now, you need to allocate yourself time for what you are going to do. So, in our case, that means we should invest about the first 10 minutes of the turnaround to set the airplane up for the departure. That means doing the FMC setup, setting up all the cockpit, and so on, and preparing the performance tool and the charts for the way back. The last 15 minutes will then be dedicated to briefing your colleague, computing the takeoff performance as the load sheet arrives, and finishing off the final paperwork. So you'll see the turnaround is quite packed and takes a little while to manage all of that, but let's head right back into the plane and start the process. We are 3.5 minutes into the turnaround, that means we have about 19 minutes left. So these guys can start offloading and they are almost ready in the back as well. So what I'm going to do in order to remind myself to keep the services going is I will have them open on the right CDU. Also we have ground power available, so we no longer need the APU. Okay, so with all these services in progress now, let's start our preparation for the next flights. And we're going to be using SimToolkit Pro for that. And finally, quick look, they are ready in the back, so let's start offloading there as well. Alright, and with that, our pre-flight procedure is complete. You can see we are now 9.5 minutes into the turnaround, and if we have a look into our right FMC, we can see the passengers are off board, and we are pretty much ready to start our boarding once again, and to start our loading. Also, the passengers are off board now for a few minutes, so the cabin crew will have had time to prepare the airplane for the flight back and do a quick check of the cabin. Now, the time between finishing the deboarding and starting the new boarding is usually somewhere in the region of 3 to 5 minutes, so the cabin crew can do a great job with the 4 persons of cleaning that cabin in the meantime. Alright, so let's start the loading of the new luggage and the boarding of the new passengers. Be aware that we are currently doing fueling and boarding at the same time, so the fasten seatbelt sign is going to stay off until the refueling is actually completed. Doing fueling and boarding at the same time is actually standard for most low-cost carriers, so that is nothing abnormal. As a general rule of thumb, if you have not started briefing your departure by the time that you have 13 minutes to go, so by the time you are 12 minutes on the ground, then you are probably not going to make the 25-minute turnaround process. Okay, so for our case, that means we can start with the briefing and start preparing our colleague for the flight as well. I'm sure that most of you are familiar with the Ribbits briefing by now. If not, then do check out my departure briefing tutorial video, which I can really recommend. Takes a little while to get it right, but when you are there, then it doesn't actually take very long to conduct such briefings. Okay, so let's go ahead and do just that. So, threats for our departure, we don't really have anything notable here. If we have a quick look at the taxi chart, we can see there is one hotspot over here, where we need to make sure not to accidentally enter that runway, but we have no plans to do so today. And there is a last hotspot over here, which is number 3, and they say do not pass holding position Romeo 1 without express ATC clearance. Pay special attention to ATC instructions and read back complete clearance. Okay, that is understood, so let's go ahead and do the route check. We have OFP number 1. And we are going to fly from Golf Charlie Lima Papa, Echo Delta Delta Lima, and we are the Bravo Echo Romeo 194 Alpha. For the routing, we will proceed on the Vasto 8 Alpha departure to Vasto, Upper November 858 Akuda, direct Ubesa, direct Pisas, Upper November 858 Oaxaca, direct Parker, Upper November 858 Abrix, direct Charlie November Alpha, direct Adabi, direct Bogno, direct Debus, direct Tusu, Upper Mike 163 Charlie Tango Lima, direct Arden, direct Komop, Tango 859 Nervenich, Tango 857 Big Moo, and the ground distance for this flight is supposed to be 1773. We have 1814 in the FMS, that is because of our little bit longer arrival. Reserve fuel required, 2.7 arrival fuel. 14 on board, giving me 2.8. Well, let's go over here. 15.9 is what we ordered, so let's put that in here. And then it gives me 4.4 on the arrival. Just don't forget to remove that again from the plan. Okay then. UTC time right now is 1452, altimeter 1022, reading 110. Flight directors are on, the master is on my side, standby instruments set. This is going to be a left seat takeoff on runway 03 left, flaps 5, noise abatement procedure number 2, and we will have a special engine out sit taking us straight ahead to 14 DME Lima Papa Charlie, and then a right hand turn towards Inita and pick up the hold over there. Inita is down here, so over the water, so climbing to an altitude of 3,000 feet is going to keep us safe. For the emergencies, if the call before we want us keep going, no actions below 400 feet except to cancel any warnings and raise the landing gear with a positive rate, 400 feet, verify heading, select, carry out the memory items. At the MFRA, we buck up, retract flaps and schedule, flat front not light, select level change, max 17 thrust, engage the automatics, non-normal checklist, normal checklist, and then we decide on the further course of action. Okay, so let's have a look into the taxi. We will have to do a pushback. So this is not a taxi outstand. We are going to do a pushback, and we'll end up here on Romeo, and then we taxi all the way forward via Romeo to Romeo 03 left. Now, for the departure, we have the Vasto 8 Alpha departure, and that is on a chart 10-3 Papa, effective 5th of November. Speed limit, maximum 250 knots, below flight level 100, within Canarias TMR, and we have 250 below level 100. Transition altitude 6,000, and on here we have 6,000. So, initial climb, Vasto 8 Alpha cross Islet below 4,000, then climb to flight level 120. So we have Islet below 4,000, and then flight level 120. Okay, the routing itself is on the runway track towards Akos, and thereafter 0267 miles Islet below 4,000, and then 019 11 miles towards Colon, and right hand turn 039 39 to Laris. Thereafter same track 63.9 towards Sarai, and thereafter same track 54.2 miles inbound to Vasto. And that's all that we have over here. Conventional backup, we can use Gran Canaria VOR 12.9, that's going to go active on the number 1, and Gran Canaria South VOR will stay active on number 2, and we can select 039 on the course up here. That's it. Do you have any questions for the departure briefing? No, probably not. Okay. So, for now we are actually done, except for reading the checklist and doing our performance. They've just finished boarding over here, so the passenger buses can go and the aft stairs can be disconnected. Also, the loading of all the luggage is complete, so let's close the cargo doors. And refueling is complete as well, so the refueler can be released as well. At this moment, we would be getting the load information document with all our passenger and cargo data. So let's go ahead and do the takeoff performance. So, weight and balance. That is all the standard stuff, really. We have 184 people on board. Let's make that all adults. And that gives me 132 in the middle, 27 in the front, and... is that 24 in the back? No, it's not. It is 20 and a bit in the back. Oh boy. Of course, in real life, we'd simply get the document and we would just have to type all the stuff. So let's take the figures that we have here. 27 in the front, 132 in the middle. That leaves 25 passengers in the back. Okay. For the cargo, in the forward hold, we had loaded 2,000, and in the aft hold 1,100. And now for the fuel, carry 15,900, and don't worry that we are showing more than the max ramp weight over here. This is due to the airplane setup, because the real plane can be up to 77,990 kilograms, while this one in the virtual performance tool is a little bit less. So that's the reason why we're seeing amber numbers over here right now. Nothing to worry about. In any case, that is our takeoff performance, so let's go ahead. And we said that we had a takeoff weight of 76,690. Actually, if we fill out the fuel, that would really help as well. Taxi fuel is 195, and the trip fuel is 12,373. Okay. 76414 as our takeoff weight. Please tell me the virtual performance tool is able to calculate that. Interesting. Okay. Well, if we had a performance tool that would be fitting, then we could do the takeoff performance right now. Okay. So with that, let's say we go full 26k, flap 5 takeoff, and we take the speeds from here, 158 as the V2. Okay, so that's our performance calculation complete. And we are now 20 minutes into the turnaround process, which means that we can already start doing the checklist and preparing for the pushback. Of course, we'd also need to get ATC clearance, so if you are flying online, then this is the moment to do it. And assuming we've gotten clearance, flight level 120, there's a squawk in there. And the SID is as expected. Time to start the APU. And since the refueling is finished, the fasten belts can go on as well. At this moment we could also say hello to the passengers and do our welcome on board PA, but we consider this done for the purpose of this video. It would maybe take another 30 seconds. Okay, so transit before start checklist. Gear pins, 1 to 3 removed. Oxygen tested to 100%, yaw damper on. Fuel, that's 15,809 required, 15,9 on board, 6 pumps on. Fasten belts on, window heat on, aircon and press, PAX auto, bleeds on, set, pressurization mode selector, auto, instruments cross-checked, auto brakes, RTO, speed brakes, down detent, parking brake set, step trim cutout switch is normal. Wheel well fire warning checked, radius radar and transponder set and standby, radar and aileron trims 3 and 0. Takeoff briefing discussed, PA complete, FMC CDU are set and 1 IS box, automatic 26k, speeds 495158. Set, step trim 6.9 units. Set. Performance weight and balance, sign send, phones off, EFB airplane mode stowed, flight windows and cockpit door locked, doors closed, passengers seated before start checklist complete. Okay, generator on, the ground power can go, chocks can go. One thing we did not do in this turnaround was to release the park and brake. We should have done that because they needed 15 minutes cooling. If you don't release the park and brake, the cooling time is going to increase and maintenance can check on how long the actual cooling time would be then. However, the trigger for that, and the reason I forgot it in this video, is because we cannot release the park and brake unless the first officer goes outside, or the pilot monitoring goes outside, not the first officer, checks that the chocks are physically in place, and then gives us a signal that the chocks are in. So that would have been our clue to release the brake. Of course, since we are flying single pilot over here, we didn't do that. But so just something for you to keep in mind. Okay, with that we can prepare the position for pushback and departure. And with this we are pretty much completely done with our turnaround. Let's stop the timer. 23 minutes. So by now it's up to GSX and the ground personnel to be ready in time for our pushback. But that pretty much concludes our tutorial. I hope that you have learned something on this one and that you found this interesting. Now, if you have any questions about the procedure, then please do let me know in the video comments below. I would like to thank you very much, and if there is anything that you are wondering about, if there is anything that you do different, then please do let me know in the comments, and I will be happy to answer any questions about this 25-minute turnaround process that you may have. At this point, I would like to thank you very much for watching. If you want to support the channel, you can become a channel member, where you might get early access to new videos, or in first class membership, even the ability to request new videos from me. But if you don't want to become a member, then you can always do a one-time donation through the Buy Me a Coffee link in the description below as well. Thank you very much for joining. I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one. Until then, safe flights, enjoy your turnarounds, and I'm looking forward to see you all again very soon.